All right. We have to come up, so, oh yeah, you guys could plot the points. Like, I'm not plotting them. Okay, look, explicit recursive. And so it asks for a table. There's my big table. Okay, explicit recursive. I'm going to write recursive first and then explicit. Recursive tends to be the easier one. You guys tend to be better with this than explicit. So let's go recursive first. All right, if I want recursive, all right, you guys know you give me two things, two terms, initial term, and you give me the general term. So what's my initial term? What's my initial term? Yeah. F of 1 is 1 because it's the first bit of information that they give you. Figure 1 has one box. That's it. That is your initial term, right? Okay, general term then, you guys know you go f of n is equal to f of n minus 1, and then here's the deal. With linear, you were adding to, so you just added to here. For exponential, you were multiplying by 4, so you multiplied by 4 here. Problem is, you guys have a second difference. You don't have a first difference. Okay, so now what do? All right, a quadratic pattern, recursively, the growth is a line, like y equal mx plus b. Okay, so what I mean by that is if you think of a line, y equal mx plus b, right, this is the constant ones, like you multiply or you add. Because you're in second difference, your growth is linear. Okay, you have to come back to the 0. So unless you get lucky with the pattern and they give you figure 0, if they don't, you have to go back to 0. So knowing this growth, right, if it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, what would come before 2? 1. So that means this would be plus 1. And so what would this number be? 0, because what is, right, look at it. What's 15 minus 5? 10. What's 10 minus 4? 6. What's 6 minus 3? 3. What's 3 minus 2? 1. What's 1 minus 1? 0. Okay, so you have to get the 0th term because you need that number, because that is your y-intercept. When x is 0, what's y? 0. So then my y-intercept, when you guys look at your table, you want the 0th term, and that became 0, 0, right? I'm just grabbing it from here. That's my b value here. So now I have y equal mx plus 0. Remember, what I get here for mx plus b, that's what's going to go behind. That's your recursive growth. It's a line. Okay, and now what's your slope? It's your second difference. And so what is it? That's your slope. It's 1. And so it is just y equal x, or 1x plus 0. So what would I put here for the general term? This, but with an n, plus n, and then you could put a plus 0, or you could just put a plus n. Okay, so look, this is the first time you're seeing it. This is quadratic, right? You guys know a quadratic has an x squared? Are you aware of that? So what's 1 smaller than x squared? X. That's a linear equation. So you have to describe it with a linear growth. Okay, like I said, it's extra credit. You don't have to, but there are points, so you guys decide. Okay, so you can write that, or you could put f of n is equal to f of n minus 1, and you could just put the plus n. So whichever one you choose. I get them equally because you guys don't want to leave anything out, so. Okay, That's recursive. You now have to find explicit. And so this is where this is why it's extra credit, because you guys are jumping ahead, because we haven't graphed, we haven't factored, we've done nothing with quadratics, but there are quadratic patterns. Okay, a quadratic equation is y equal ax squared plus bx plus c, right? You guys know a line is y equal mx plus b. Quadratic is ax squared plus bx plus c. Remember, it has one more x, right? This is 1x. This now has 2 x's, 1x constant. All right, the way you get your numbers is from this chart. All right? All right, you already know your constant. All right? When x is 0, what is y? 0. So you already know c is equal to 0 because it came from the table, right? Okay, now here's the other thing. You already know what a is. Okay, so what is that? It's your second difference. It's whatever number is your second difference, except you have to divide that number by 2. Always. It's always divided by 2. Okay? So, what's my second difference? 1, right? And so, what's 1 divided by 2? You could leave it as 1/2, or you could leave it as 0.5. So far, I have A and C. You need to find B. So far, I have my explicit function. I have y equal 1/2 x squared plus bx plus 0. I just need that. So you can see a lot of students go for the extra credit because A isn't that big of a deal. It's taking this number and dividing it by 2. And 0 is not that big of a deal, or the C isn't that big of a deal, because you just have to backtrack. And yet all your information is there. Okay, how do you find the B value? You always go for 1. So if you want to find B, look for x equal 1 in the table. Okay, just because it's an easy number to look for. All right, and to solve for, and to substitute for. Okay, so look, here's 1. When x is 1, what is y? 1. So that's a point. 1, 1. When x is 1, y is 1. Substitute it. So if you have a point that when x is 1, y is 1, substitute it, you'll find b. And so I get 1 is equal to 1/2, 1 squared, plus b, 1, and when you clean it up, oh, that's just 1. That's just b. And then that is just, right, that's just 1/2. And so what's the value of b going to be? I'll solve it, but do you guys know? 1/2, right? And by the way, if the 1/2 is throwing you off, you guys are welcome to write it as 0.5. And so you get 1/2 or 0.5. And so this is your explicit function, y equal 1/2 x squared plus 1/2 x plus 0. Or 0.5 x squared plus 0.5 x. I don't know, do you guys know how to factor yet? Like I said, that's why extra credit, quadratics are extra credit, because you guys haven't been taught to factor yet. Like factoring doesn't come out till October, late September. Did any of you guys learn this in, I don't know if you guys know how to do that. I don't know. All right, this is factoring. I don't know if you guys have learned it, but this is it. This is totally acceptable. You'll get other numbers. You're going to practice all 3 of them, but this is essentially it. Linear, exponential, and this is quadratic, but this is extra credit. And if it looks weird because it has the 1/2, don't worry. You're going to do some where it's 4s and 2s, and the numbers are like more pleasing visually, and you can do the math in your head. But that's it. So if you want any extra credit off of this bit, it really comes down to you have to know how to complete your tables. Okay? And we give you plenty of space so that you can complete them out. You guys might be copying, but let me just stop the video because it's like going to be long already.